Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Sophie, and today feels a little personal, doesn't it? We're talking about something so many of us struggle with, especially when we're learning English. It's that moment when your mind freezes, even though you know the words.
Hi everyone, I'm Leo. And yes, that feeling is very real. You want to speak, but instead you start thinking and thinking and thinking, and then nothing comes out.
Exactly. Or something comes out, but much later when the moment is already gone. Today's topic is speak without thinking too much. And honestly, this is something I still work on myself.
Same here. Overthinking can make simple conversations feel heavy and stressful. And the funny part is, most people listening right now probably know more English than they think they do.
So in this episode, we want to talk openly about that fear, that pressure, and how we can slowly let it go. Not perfectly, but gently.
If you enjoy this conversation, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us continue.
And don't forget, there's a PDF with the full conversation that you can download and read later.
All right, let's start.
You know, Leo, I was thinking about my first years speaking a second language. I remember feeling like my brain was a busy room with too many voices. One voice said, check your grammar. Another said, find a better word. And another said, don't make a mistake. By the time I chose one voice, the conversation was already over.
I can relate to that so much. For me, it often felt like I was taking a test, not having a conversation. Even when someone asked me a simple question, my body reacted with stress. My shoulders got tight, my heart beat faster, and suddenly I forgot words I had used 100 times before.
That physical reaction is so important to notice. Many people think the problem is language, but often it's fear. Fear of sounding stupid, fear of being judged, or fear of not being good enough. And those fears make thinking louder than speaking.
Yes, and the strange thing is, when we speak our first language, we don't plan every sentence. We don't say, okay, subject, verb, object. We just speak. But in English, we try to control everything.
Exactly. I once had a student who said, I know English, but my mouth doesn't know it. That sentence stayed with me. Because the knowledge is there, but the connection is blocked by overthinking.
That's such a good way to say it. And I think many listeners feel the same. They understand podcasts, videos, even movies. But when it's time to speak, they suddenly feel empty. What about you, Sophie? Did you have a moment when you realized overthinking was the real problem?
I did. I remember being at a small dinner with friends from different countries. Everyone was speaking English. I stayed quiet for a long time, just listening. Then someone asked me directly, "What do you think?" My mind went blank, not because I had no opinion, but because I wanted my answer to be perfect.
And what happened?
I finally just spoke. It wasn't perfect. I repeated words, I paused, I made small mistakes, but no one reacted badly. They listened, they answered me, and after that, I felt lighter. That was when I learned an important expression, good enough. It means your English doesn't need to be perfect, just good enough to communicate.
I love that expression. Good enough is very powerful. Another one I like is let it go. When you notice yourself thinking too much, you can say, okay, let it go, and just speak. It's not about being careless, but about trusting yourself.
Trust is such a big word here. Trusting that people are not waiting for you to fail. Trusting that mistakes are normal. And trusting that communication is more important than correctness.
I agree. And there's also the idea of in the moment. That means focusing on what is happening right now, not on future mistakes or past ones. When you stay in the moment, your mind has less space to worry.
That's true. I sometimes tell learners to imagine they are talking to a friend, not performing on a stage. A conversation is shared. You're not alone in it. The other person wants to understand you, not judge you.
And when you don't know a word, that's okay too. You can explain it in another way. That's called work around it. For example, if you forget the word receipt, you can say, the paper they give you after you pay.
That's such a useful skill, and it shows confidence, not weakness. People often think stopping is bad, but stopping to think for a second is natural. The problem is when thinking becomes a wall.
Yes, a wall instead of a bridge. I like that image. Thinking should help you connect ideas, not stop you from speaking.
So maybe the real goal is not to stop thinking completely, but to think less and feel more. Feel the message you want to share, not the rules behind it.
That's beautifully said. And for anyone listening, if you feel slow or unsure when you speak, it doesn't mean you're bad at English. It often means you care a lot.
And caring is not a weakness. We just need to learn how to be kind to ourselves while we speak.
What about you listening right now? Have you ever stayed silent because you were thinking too much?
If the answer is yes, you're not alone, and this conversation is for you.
You know, Leo, something else that helped me was realizing that silence is not always a problem. I used to think that if I paused, people would think I was stupid or slow. But actually, short pauses are very natural in conversations, even between native speakers.
That's so true. We often imagine that fluent speakers talk nonstop, but that's not real life. People pause to breathe, to think, to feel. A pause doesn't mean failure. Sometimes it even shows that you care about what you're saying.
Exactly. I remember learning the expression, take your time. It means you don't need to rush. When someone tells you, take your time, they are giving you permission to be human. And I think learners should also tell this to themselves.
I like that a lot. Another expression I find useful is, it's okay. Such a simple phrase, but very calming. When you make a mistake or forget a word, you can think, it's okay, and continue. That small kindness can change your whole mood.
Yes, and mood matters so much. When you're tense, your brain closes. When you're relaxed, your words flow more easily. I noticed that I spoke better English when I felt emotionally safe, not when I tried to impress someone.
Same for me. I once had 2 jobs where I used English. In one place, people corrected me all the time. In the other place, people just listened. Guess where my English improved faster?
I think I know the answer.
Definitely the second place. Feeling accepted made me braver, and being brave made me speak more. Speaking more made me better. It's like a circle.
That's such an important point. Improvement doesn't start with perfection. It starts with courage. Even small courage, like answering a short question or sharing a simple opinion.
And opinions don't need fancy words. You can say, I like it, or I don't like it, or I'm not sure. These are all valid. Sometimes learners think their ideas are not interesting enough, but that's not true.
Yes, and there's another expression I want to share. Speak your mind. It means to say what you really think or feel. You don't need big vocabulary to speak your mind. You just need honesty.
I love that one. And honesty connects people. I've had conversations where someone's grammar was not perfect at all, but I felt very close to them because they were real.
That's such a good reminder. Communication is about connection, not performance. When you focus on connection, your fear slowly loses power.
Fear's interesting, isn't it? It tries to protect us, but sometimes it protects us too much. It says, don't speak, you might make a mistake. But making mistakes is how we learn.
Exactly. I once heard someone say, mistakes are proof that you are trying. That sentence helped me a lot. It changed how I saw errors. They became signs of movement, not failure.
That's beautiful. And when you stop seeing mistakes as enemies, you stop fighting yourself. You relax. And when you relax, your thinking becomes quieter.
Quieter thinking, louder voice. That's what we want. Not no thinking, just less noise.
I agree. Another practical thing that helped me was speaking out loud when I was alone. Not to practice grammar, but to practice flow. Just talking about my day, my thoughts, anything.
That's such a good idea. When you do that, you train your mouth to move without pressure, and pressure is often the biggest problem.
Yes, pressure creates that feeling of I must be perfect, and that thought is very heavy. Replacing it with I will try feels much lighter.
I love that contrast. I must be perfect versus I will try. One closes you, the other opens you.
And when you open, you allow yourself to be seen. That can be scary, but it's also how real communication starts.
I think many listeners need to hear this today. You don't need to wait until your English is perfect to speak. Speaking is not the reward at the end. Speaking is the path.
Well said. And if today you speak just one sentence without overthinking, that's already progress.
Yes, progress is not loud. Sometimes it's very quiet.
But it's real, and it counts.
You know, Leo, something else that helped me was changing how I listened to myself. I used to listen like a judge, always checking for mistakes. Every sentence felt like it was being scored. But at some point, I started listening like a friend instead.
That's such a powerful change. Listening like a friend means you're on your own side. When I stopped judging every word, I noticed I could finish my thoughts more easily. My sentences became longer, not because my grammar improved, but because I felt safer inside my own head.
Exactly. Safety is the key word. Many learners don't feel safe when they speak. They feel exposed. But when you treat yourself gently, your brain doesn't panic so much.
Panic really blocks everything. I remember once I was asked to introduce myself in English in a small group. I had practiced the introduction many times, but when my turn came, I forgot even my job title. Not because I didn't know it, but because I was scared.
I can imagine that moment so clearly. And those moments can hurt your confidence if you don't understand what really happened. You might think, I'm bad at English, but the truth is, I was nervous.
Yes, and that difference matters. Being nervous is human. It doesn't mean your level is low, it just means you care.
That's why I often remind learners of another useful expression: be patient with yourself. It means accepting that learning and speaking take time. You wouldn't expect a child to speak perfectly, so why expect that from yourself?
That's such a good question. We're often much kinder to others than to ourselves. If a friend speaks broken English, we understand them and feel respect. But when it's our own English, we become very strict.
Yes, and that strict voice inside our head is often the reason we overthink. It's always saying, not good enough yet.
I had that voice too. And one day, I tried something simple. Before speaking, I told myself, say it simply. Not beautifully, not perfectly, just simply. And surprisingly, it worked.
That's such a helpful mindset. Simple English is strong English, clear English. Many people think fluency means complicated sentences, but fluency is really about ease.
Ease is a great word. When speaking feels easy, thinking becomes lighter. And when thinking is lighter, words come faster.
I also noticed that when I accepted small mistakes, I made fewer big ones because I didn't freeze anymore. Freezing is often worse than making a small error.
Absolutely. Freezing breaks the connection, and conversations need flow more than perfection. Even if your sentence is not perfect, the other person usually understands you.
That's such an important reminder. Communication is shared responsibility. It's not all on you. The listener is also part of the process.
Yes, and most listeners want the conversation to succeed. They're not waiting to correct you, they just want to understand and respond.
Another expression I like is keep going. When you make a mistake, don't stop. Just keep going. Often the mistake disappears in the flow of the conversation.
I love that one. Keep going saved me many times. When I stopped stopping myself, my confidence slowly grew.
Confidence doesn't come from thinking more. It comes from speaking more. That's something many learners don't realize at first.
Yes, and speaking more doesn't mean speaking perfectly. It means showing up again and again, even when it feels uncomfortable.
Discomfort is part of growth, but it shouldn't be pain. There's a difference. A little discomfort means you're learning. Too much pressure means you need to slow down.
That's such a healthy way to see it. And slowing down doesn't mean giving up. It means respecting your process.
I think that's a message many adults need. We're used to being good at things, so when we feel weak in a language, it hurts our pride.
Yes, especially for adults between 20 and 40. We're working, making decisions, leading lives, and suddenly, in English, we feel like beginners again.
That feeling can be frustrating, but it can also be freeing if you allow it. Being a beginner means you're allowed to learn.
And learning means you're alive, curious, growing. That's something to be proud of, not ashamed of.
So maybe speaking without thinking too much starts with permission. Permission to be imperfect. Permission to be slow sometimes. Permission to be yourself in another language.
I couldn't agree more. And if someone listening today takes just one thing from this, I hope it's that they don't need to wait. They can speak now as they are.
Yes, your voice is ready, even if your grammar isn't perfect yet. You know, Leo, as we talk about all this, I keep thinking about how much pressure we put on speaking well. We rarely talk about speaking honestly, but honesty is often much easier than perfection.
That's true. When you focus on honesty, you stop searching for the perfect sentence. You just try to express what you really mean. And even if the sentence is simple, the message is clear.
I remember a moment when I finally stopped trying to sound smart. I was talking to someone and I just said, "I'm nervous, but I want to say this." And suddenly, the nervousness had less power. Saying it out loud made it smaller.
That's such a good example. Naming your feeling can actually calm you, and it also creates connection. The other person often feels closer to you when you're open like that.
Exactly. And that reminds me of another everyday expression. Be yourself. It sounds simple, but in another language, it's very hard. We often try to become a different version of ourselves in English.
Yes, we create a perfect English version in our head, and then we feel bad when we can't reach it. But that version is not real. The real goal is to be yourself, just in English.
And being yourself includes pauses, small mistakes, and searching for words sometimes. That's normal. Native speakers do that too.
They really do. I've noticed native speakers say things like, let me think, or how can I say this, all the time. Those phrases are very natural, and learners can use them too.
That's such a good point. Those phrases give you time without stopping the conversation. They help you stay inside the flow instead of freezing.
Flow is everything. When you're in the flow, you're not watching yourself from the outside. You're inside the conversation. And that's when thinking becomes quiet.
I think many people believe confidence comes first, then speaking. But it's usually the opposite. Speaking comes first, then confidence follows.
Yes, confidence is built, not found. It grows slowly from many small moments where you speak, even though you're unsure.
And those small moments matter. Ordering coffee, answering a question, sharing a short opinion. None of them feel big alone, but together they change how you see yourself.
You start to think, maybe I can do this. And that thought is very powerful.
It really is. Another expression I want to share before we finish is one step at a time. It means you don't need to fix everything today, just focus on the next small step.
I love that one. When people think about fluency as a big goal, it feels heavy. But when they think about today's step, it feels possible.
And today's step might simply be speaking without stopping yourself. Let this sentence come out, even if it's not perfect.
Or allowing yourself to finish the sentence, even if you feel unsure in the middle. That's something many learners struggle with.
Yes, stopping in the middle is often a sign of self-judgment. Letting yourself finish is an act of kindness.
Kindness to yourself changes everything. When you're kind, learning becomes lighter. And when learning is lighter, you want to continue.
I hope listeners understand that speaking without thinking too much is not about being careless. It's about trusting the process and trusting yourself.
And trusting that you don't need permission from anyone else to speak. You already have it.
That's such an important message. Your English doesn't need to be perfect to be heard. Your voice deserves space, just as it is.
If someone listening feels stuck right now, I want them to know that this feeling doesn't mean they're failing. It often means they're close to a breakthrough.
Yes, many times growth feels uncomfortable right before things change.
So if your mind feels noisy when you speak, don't fight it. Gently lower the volume and focus on the message instead.
And remember, you don't have to speak fast. You just have to speak honestly.
I think that's a beautiful place to end.
Me too. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being brave enough to keep learning.
And remember, every time you speak, even with mistakes, you're moving forward.
One step at a time.